Let's welcome back to the show former federal prosecutor Jim Trusty. He's going to talk to us now about how Trump and Biden are telling supporters to buckle up, prepare for a long, drawn-out court fight. Jim, it's great to see you. When are we going to know the winner? Do you think there's going to be court fights? I mean, voters don't want Election Day to become election month. Do you think there's going to be court fights over this? What do you think?
Well, I think there will be, but I don't expect it to drag on and on. And there's a number of kind of practical and philosophical reasons for that. But look, I mean, the courts are the last group of people that want to resolve national elections. They're not, the Supreme Court is not sitting there waiting for the phone to ring, hoping they can decide this election. Quite the contrary. And that's the great irony here, is that it's the Democrats that will probably win because of federalism and judicial conservatism. And what I mean by that is, federal Supreme Court, for instance, and even federal lower courts are not champing at the bit saying, we want to analyze state process. Just as Jason mentioned, voting rules, voting procedure is a state and local function, not a federal one. So that may be kind of the biggest irony of this whole thing is federal courts may not want to touch any of this stuff, and that's assuming you can build a sufficient record to even present a case that goes up on appeal.
Yeah, I hear it's so interesting what you're saying, because the fight is over this. It's what happened in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, for example, that respectively the state court in Pennsylvania and the state election board in North Carolina allowed for the delay in counting the votes till postmark ballots for after the election. And, you know, the constitutional fight is that the state legislatures decide who is an elector in the Electoral College votes set up by the U.S. Constitution. So that's how it ends up in the Supreme Court. And you wonder if Justice Barrett is going to be the fifth vote for that, saying it is the state legislatures, it's not the courts. I mean, Justice Roberts and Justice Kagan are saying the courts are there to interpret the state legislatures and the state's constitutions and all of that. So it's going to be, it sounds really wonky and weedy, but I'll tell you something. When you see how our system operates and what each state is doing, to your point, in terms of federalism, it's quite the turnaround that the Democrats are now benefiting from this. What do you think?
Well, I mean, look, there's a bunch of practical things that create problems for Trump's team as well. And one of them is you have to establish a record, some sort of evidence. And it can't just be suspicion. I mean, a lot of people can say, boy, I hate the way Milwaukee, Detroit, Philly, and Fulton County are determining this election. But the reality is you've got to have more than suspicion, more than just pointing out in unintentional irregularities. You've got to show what they call prejudice. You've got to be able to show harm to your campaign based on intentional irregularities. And that's going to be uphill because, again, I think federalism dictates that you let the state decide that and you don't let it bubble up to the Supreme Court unless there's something as outrageous as what happened in Bush v. Gore with the Florida Supreme Court, where they really overreached. So I think it's a real Hail Mary at this point to think litigation, even very expedited, fast-moving litigation, I just don't see it as ending up deciding the election here.
And Jim, we have this other fight. Did the vote, you know how checks get trapped in the mail? Did the vote get trapped in the mail? We've got talk about hundreds of thousands of ballots trapped in the postal system. Here's what happened. More than 65 million Americans voted using mail-in ballots. 27 million mail ballots were not yet counted as of a certain point yesterday, and then they started to flood in. And now the post office is getting hammered by, wait for it, Justice Emmett Sullivan, the same judge who was on the General Flynn case. He's saying, why did you, the postal system, blow off my 3 o'clock deadline for postal inspectors to see if there are problems in the postal system? In Pennsylvania, the post office only delivered half of the ballots on time. In central Pennsylvania. In Philadelphia, 48% of the ballots were delivered on time. So we're tracking, problems with delays in the postal system for delivering the ballots for states that counted for, wait for it, 77 Electoral College votes. We're talking states including Georgia, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. So your reaction to how this is going to play out?
Well, the judge's instincts to worry about the Postal Service may be well born, but how he lands himself as kind of the arbiter of all things on this election is kind of amazing to me. And, I think the Postal Service's response was probably, we're a little busy to be dealing with you as a self-appointed monitor. for the U.S. Postal Service. So, look, there's a lot that'll be chalked up to kind of institutional shortcomings for things like the Postal Service that still probably doesn't give rise to a successful lawsuit in either federal court or state court. So we tolerate a lot of negligence. It's just the intentional stuff that creates the problems.
Wait, so do you think the Trump campaign can move forward on this front, that the problems also with the post office is hitting the ballots for the president? I mean, I hear what you're saying about Judge Sullivan. He said, if astronauts can vote from outer space, and then we've got the vote trapped in the postal system, do you think that the Trump team can make hay with that?
I think it's a Hail Mary. I mean, honestly, I just don't see that as having a lot of traction. It's not that it's factually untrue. I think it's fair game to say what's going on with, in today's world. We should be able to track things very cleanly. We should be able to meet deadlines very cleanly. But the absence of that performance isn't necessarily the type of constitutional-based violation that lets the courts weigh in and overturn the otherwise valid results.
Okay, it's great to see you, Jim Trusty. Thanks for joining us again. We're going to have you back on.